Hi, everyone. My name is Georgette Truan. I am the host of Fight CPS, Relatives Fight CPS. And I also work with attorney Vincent Davis. And I have my lovely co host, Miss Stacy. Hi,
Hi,
Stacy.
Miss G.
Stacy hasn't been the same guy since she killed a deer by accident. The deer jumped in her way when she was driving. The deer died, and so did her car. So she's a little out of it right now. So, but she's getting her car fixed. And the deer
You,
really damaged it. The deer was so cute, though. I mean, it was a
I have
lady
a,
deer.
I have a pretty bad headache today, Miss G.
I
But
know.
but I had to do the show because I remembered when you had your bad tooth and you were dedicated to everyone and you still came on.
You're so sweet. I
But
just
just forgive me if I seem a little.
out of it. I understand. But I do need to discuss a few things with everyone, whoever's going to be watching or watching. So, a lot of you guys send me this, okay? It says, and I quote, in some cases, you can request that the court appoints a specific attorney to represent you. This is typically done by filing a motion with the court explaining why you want a particular attorney to represent you. The motion should include the attorney's name, contact information, and a brief explanation of why you want them to represent you. A lot of people are sending me this and requesting Davis to represent them in court, um, but that can't happen. So I asked Davis several times. His response back is the court can only appoint another court-appointed attorney. They cannot appoint him. And often you guys tell me why. You guys ask me why, and the reason why. And he didn't tell me this, but I'm gonna just say the reason why is because he fights against the department.
Not with it.
Why? Why would he? Why would the Department of Children and Family Services wanna sign him to appoint you? Okay, so a lot of you guys are so convinced, and I get so many text messages today and yesterday, the day before, like the whole month, sticking on that statement. So no, the court appointed attorney the court cannot appoint Attorney Davis to represent you instead of your court appointed attorney. That's a no-no. Another thing, often you guys, I hear a lot of stories about pastors reporting to CPS. Today, I did my research. Actually, today, I got another story about a pastor who worked for CPS for 30 years. Worked for
Miss
CPS for
G,
30 years. Yeah,
I'm gonna pause my screen for just a second because I'm gonna look for something because I think this same story is happening in New York right now, and
yeah.
I think they're looking to put priests on the mandated reporter list.
Please find that out right now. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna check.
yeah. So a story came today while Stacy's finding about the New York one about a pastor who worked for CPS for 30 years, and he was a pastor. I mean, he wasn't a pastor then, but he became a pastor after. He adopted um, back then adopted a child supposedly. They don't want to tell the child now. The child is older. She's a mother, but she's a mother for the second time, but the first time she was only in her 20s and they took her children, two children. Um, the the stepdad, right, was working for CPS for 30 years, and now he's a pastor. So she wanted her birth certificate and the adoption paperwork, but her parents would not give it to her. And then they would make excuses like we lost your birth certificate, or the other excuse is that they started the adoption in California but then finished it in Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. She said Louisiana. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so she thinks they're hiding something. We had several cases like that where they came to us and told us that they were reported by a priest, I mean a pastor in their church, a preacher. And oftentimes you guys listen to these pastors, you listen to them But what you don't understand is that they are reporting everything you tell them, even though it's supposed to be confidential between you, the pastor, and God, example. But the pastors are reporting to the Department of Children and Family Services. They're in connection. With that story that I got today is very similar to another that I investigated but over a year ago. So the pastor, when you tell them that you're having a CPS case and you're going through stress and you're praying, what have you, he or she, I guess there's women pastors now, I think, they pray for you and they get a lot of information and et cetera, but they give that information to the social workers. Okay, so Stacy, what did you find out?
Yeah, there's been a lot of commotion about adding clergy to the mandated reporter list, and it's happening in New York. It's been a legislative bill that they've been trying to pass since 2022. I sent it to you.
Yeah, but I have to pay $10 to get in it. Honest to God, no joke. Here, look, I'm gonna show you. It would not even allow me to bypass it. Like it says that I have to pay $10. Yep. See?
They always say this.
Yeah. In order for me to look at it. That's okay, but I believe you.
Yeah,
But it's happening everywhere, but a lot of people tend to believe pastors, and a lot of pastors are giving them information, telling them that they know social workers and they can help them. It's not true. This crap is not true. Do not give, I guess people tend to give too much information to
they
pastors because they
trust.
go to church, but just
They
because they go to
trust.
church, it doesn't mean that they're holy. I mean, the devil knows the Bible too, guys. The devil knows the Bible better than you and me, actually. Better than me.
They
So
trust, Miss G. People
yeah, I
trust.
know. But we tend to trust, I don't know. I hate to say this, but
Yep.
I'm look, I go to church, but I don't go to American church. So I don't know how American churches are. I just go to my church, my Coptic Orthodox church. That's it. That's the only church. But I don't know how pastors are in the American churches. I don't know anything about that. But all I know is that just because they go to church and they preach about Jesus, it doesn't mean that they're holy and they're going to help you. Okay. Oftentimes they send you a basket and you have to put money in it. That's what I've seen on TV. In our church, for example, we don't do that. We don't have a basket, and people don't want to know how much you donate to the church. It's a donation. Okay. If you have a penny, you put it in a box outside. If you have $1, you put it in a box. We don't have a basket to pass around. I've never seen that in my church. And when I saw it in the American church on TV, I couldn't believe it. It's like it's if you have $1 and you put it in there, people look at you funny. The person next to you looks at you funny, like that's all you have is $1. Or if you have a penny, that's all you have is a penny. So they judge you. And that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be between you and God, whatever it is in your heart that you want to donate. Again, these preachers or pastors in the American churches nowadays, they have a close net with the Department of Children and Family Services. They're in close contact, and we found that out last year. And that pastor put our client in a very bad situation. That pastor was talking to me and Davis on a three-way call, and the client put him on a three-way call without us knowing at first. And he was speaking, and then me and attorney Dave was like, "Who are you?" And he said, "My name is," well, I'm going to say his name, George. I'm the pastor.
Miss G,
Yeah.
I have to say
Maybe-
something here because I always bring up this report almost every single show we do. The U.S. Department of State report that's yearly on human trafficking. And what does it say? it says that children in the foster system are among the most vulnerable, and the United States is the worst country in the world for child sex trafficking. And within the United States, who has achieved some of the most infamy for child sex trafficking or child sex abuse? The priest abuse scandal, right?
Yeah.
So now you have priests who, or whatever you want to
Are
call
you
your,
saying priests or pastors? There's a difference.
not really. There's not a difference. It happens in all religions, Miss G. It really does. Because it's a position of trust.
I'm sorry. I'm Coptic. I don't. We don't have. No, I'm being honest. I'm being
You're
honest.
you're what? You're what, Miss G?
I'm Egyptian Coptic, baby. I don't.
Oh,
I don't. I'm not a. I'm not a Catholic. I'm not
but
a.
it's in
A
all
Baptist.
religions.
I'm not. So all I'm saying. All I'm saying. You
The
can't
research
force
the
me
research
religion.
on this the
Yeah.
research on the issue, Miss G, is that it's not socioeconomically defined, it's not religiously defined, it's not culturally defined.
Mm.
It happens pervasively. And now you're going to make among them, we can just pick on the priests if you want, we're going to make priests mandated reporters to work with child protective services, and the foster care system is the most vulnerable children for child sex trafficking. So you see the link? You see how dangerous that is?
Yes. But I know in the Catholic churches for sure that happens a lot. I do know that. Um,
It happens in all of them. It happens in Jewish communities. It happens in um, uh, what are they? Jehovah's Witnesses. It happens in all the faiths. It's the research says it is not religiously defined. It is not socioeconomically defined. Now, if you look at the child sex offender, if you look at the sex offender registry, well, yeah, they always seem to kind of catch Captain Obvious and pat themselves on the back and be like, hey, we did a good job. But really, they're just doing, they're catching about 3% of pedophiles. Only about 3% of pedophiles get criminally charged. So it's kind of upsetting that now we're going to put clergy in contact with CPS because clergy tend to be among the child sexual abusers.
this is so sad. Like I said, the devil. I was gonna say the devil wears Prada, but that's a movie. It's it's just sad. It's just sad. But let me finish what I was saying before Miss Stacy interrupted. But
Right?
so I was on the call with Davis. That was last year, and the client's pastor. Okay. Um. Anyways, the client was talking too much and wanted the pastor to interact with me and Attorney Davis, and we said no, we can't do that because we kept asking, "Who are you?" And he said, he's my pastor. His name is George, and he said he can help me, and he's been guiding me what to do. And Davis said, "No, I'm not going to speak. This is, first of all, it's confidential information. I'm not going to open my mouth to this guy I don't even know." But then the client said, "I trust him, Attorney Davis. I trust him." I said, "I don't trust him." I opened my mouth and I said, "I don't trust him." And then the client said, "You don't know him, Miss G." I said, "I don't need to know him. I don't trust him." And so he was saying that the pastor told him to go to the social worker and tell this to the social worker, et cetera, et cetera. Again, so this client lost his case. He was going to win his case, but he lost his case because of his interaction with the pastor. So the pastor sent him in the wrong trap, gave him a complete different trap that ruined his whole entire matter. And he wanted to put me and Davis, and that is definitely against the law. You cannot ask us to speak to a stranger on your behalf because that stranger is not on your agreement. That's signed by the law office. Okay. Um, it's confidentiality, meaning it's you and your attorney. Do not open your mouth about your case with anyone else. If somebody tells you, directs you on how to go about your case, then you need to address it with your attorney. And I suggest you don't. If you hire a competent CPS defense attorney, my opinion, my my advice to you guys is that you shouldn't talk to anyone else if you have your own attorney. Okay? I'm not talking the court appointed ones. Those are crazy. They're not to be trusted. I'm talking about if you hire your own CPS defense attorney, you need to discuss matters with them.
Yeah,
Okay?
because the other people that you talk to don't have an attorney-client privilege. And so anything you say to these other attorneys, they can take it right back and repeat it to opposition.
They do. They do, actually. Any court appointed attorney that you speak to, if you say that for example, if you say you did drugs 10 years ago when you were 18 or 16, that court appointed attorney is going to go tell the social worker. Even if you didn't tell the social worker, he or she will go tell the social worker. There is no confidentiality. Their confidentiality is with the state and county. That's the secrets they keep, is for the state and county. They do not keep confidentiality with their own clients. Okay? So I want you guys to really be aware of that. And what Stacy mentioned earlier, the United States is the heart of sex trafficking children, and CPS workers know this. Our government knows this. The Biden administration knows this. Governor Newsom knows this in California. So they all know it. They know it, but they don't want to do anything about it. They're like turning the other, I don't know, just turning their face away. I had a couple of ladies that told me that they voted for Governor Newsom because he's handsome. So is the devil. The devil is handsome too. You guys always think of the devil with horns. No, the devil comes an angel of light to you. You're thinking it's from God. It's not. Okay. So guys, let's vote. Let's vote wisely, for God's sakes. Let's vote wisely. Okay, let's vote wisely. Because again, you don't want children to keep being sex trafficked. This is not even $1 billion a year entity anymore. I think they passed $1 trillion. Is there anything past trillion, Stacey? I
You
mean,
know, it's always messy how they come up with numbers.
it's like $1 trillion a year entity.
All I know is just our society is really in trouble. So many deeply disturbed people.
There are a lot of deeply disturbed people. And I want you guys to understand. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. The reason they want you guys hooked on drugs is because they want you guys numb. They want to take advantage of the people. So when you're drugged out, you're giving them full advantage of you. Okay. You can't continue to do this. And I'm against drugs like a million times. Thank God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I had like very conservative parents that I, as a teenager, used to think they're like the camel age, right? And I thank God every second I get for them because they made sure I was on a straight path. No joke. I feared God more than them, to be honest with you. And that's how they brought me up, is to fear God more than them in a healthy way, fearing God. So again, when you get hooked on drugs, you are destroying your body, you're destroying your brain cells, you're destroying your life. And the government loves it, even though they arrest people and take people's children from them when they're hooked on drugs. And they make that as an excuse why. Same reason they sell alcohol, for you to get drunk, for you to pass out, so they can take full advantage of you. Because without you guys doing this, they're not going to have a humongous police force. They're not going to have lawyers. They're not going to have judges. They're not
Job
going to have
security.
job security. So when you're hooked on drugs and you're numb and alcohol and alcohol too, you're giving them job security. But yet they will steal your children for that they made legal. Doesn't make sense, right? Think about it. Oftentimes people don't like to hear that, but then again, no one wants to know. No one wants to know about the sin they're doing, because it's better when you don't know, right? Because you just don't want to continue doing it. But what you're doing is you're hindering your life. You're actually putting your children at risk and your life. I mean, drugs is bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. Okay? It's bad. When I smell weed, I want to gag. I hate it. It smells so bad to me. I want to vomit. I can't understand for the life of me how anyone can smoke that every single day. When there's other drugs, you can't smell, from what I understood, you can't smell meth, if I'm not mistaken, but it affects you. It affects anyone that comes near it, a child, an animal, an adult. All you have to do is walk past it, and it just, right, Stacy? Yeah, and that's it. It's like you're smoking it, or you, whatever they do with meth. God help them. It's not good for you. It's not good for you. Even narcotic drugs is not good for you, but it's prescriptions by a doctor. But even if you take the drug, you're doing drugs. Am I right, Stacy? It's narcotic drugs, but it shows on the social workers report as drugs. They're not saying it's prescription drugs. They're saying it's drugs.
You know, Miss G, it should be a law that they're not allowed to test for THC anymore.
It
It's
should be a
legal.
law, or is there a law?
It well, I know for employment law that they're not allowed to check employees anymore because that was my job. I worked in occupational medicine, and as soon as in New York State that marijuana became legalized, we no longer could screen for that um, on drug tests for prospective employees. But CPS should not be allowed to test for THC either because it's legal.
But they do it.
I know, so there should be a law that they have to stop.
Yeah, and I was like, actually, there's something I want to read. Somebody sent me this. I want to read it for you guys real quick. I think this is it. If a DCFS worker, which is CPS, fails to file a court order report, such as a 364 report, it can have a significant consequences on them. The court may consider this as a violation of court order and take appropriate actions, including the following: holding the DCFS worker or agency in contempt of court, imposing sanctions or fines, ordering the DCFS workers or agency to comply with the original order and file the report, considering the failure to file the report as evidence in the case, potentially dismissing the case or reversing previous orders. As a defendant, you may want to, that's what it says, bring the issue to the court's attention immediately, file a motion to compel the DCFS worker or agency to comply with the court order. 3, request sanctions or other remedies for the failure to file the report. And then the final one is consider seeking a legal counsel to advocate for your rights and interest. So you guys can do all this, but without an attorney, it's very difficult to do. And it's a lot of work. Okay. And it says here, remember that the court takes compliance court orders seriously, and failure to comply can have significant consequences. Do you understand any of that, Stacey? I just mentioned. So again, you guys need to be able to speak to a CPS defense attorney, please, before you make a move like that, just to make sure that you have the right advocate for your rights. And also, I'm just reading a text message from a previous call. Okay. Ms. G, I'm trying to log in. and to watch your show. But I just wanted to ask a quick question. If you don't mind, I would like to give you this information to share with everyone else on my behalf, but don't say who I am, please. Okay, so here what she wrote is, I lost 5 kids September of 2023. There's an advocate that I found on Facebook group that fights CPS, and the advocate told me that she got her kids back and that she can help me. Little did I know, Miss G, $1,400 later, she came to court with me for two hearings. The second one, the judge kicked her out, and everything she asked me to do was bad for my case. I was watching a video from Attorney Davis in 2017. He mentioned that every case is different. But Miss G, at the time, I thought my case is just like everyone else, and I really believed her. Please tell everyone to lawyer up if they can and not to wait until their parental rights are terminated. I can't sleep, Miss G. I live in my car now and I can't eat. I cry for my kids day and night. Random people knock on my window in the car to see how I'm doing because I cry. That's all I do is cry. So I'm asking you, Miss G, to let the people know not just to trust who they speak with and not take a recommendation of someone who has no idea about law, but they pretend to be. So they are not in my situation. There you have it.
Miss G, I gotta get going.
Okay.
Love you.
I love you too. So sorry, baby. It's gonna get better. Okay.
It always does.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so the person that wrote that to me, it's just to give you guys advice and what not to do. Um, she's a sweetheart. She's a good mom. She really is a good mother. She did not lose her children because she's a bad mom or she abused them. The children came back from their dad after visitation. One of the child, her son, had burn marks all over him, his arms, and cigarette burn marks. And she rushed the child to the hospital, and the hospital notified the Department of Children and Family Services in Los Angeles County, and they got involved and they removed that child from her and the other children. Mind you, not she already called the police, told the police that he's abusing the children, and she wanted the police to go check up on them. She went to court, family court, that is, and she asked the judge for a modification of visitation because of the abuse. She had evidence of the burns and the marks and the children, especially that one child, the son. Um, family court would not give her full sole custody. They only settled for joint custody, even though she brought it up to the judge's attention. But the judge made it look like she's making up the whole thing. That's in family court in on Hill Street, downtown Los Angeles. Um, anyways, after she had to settle with the, I guess she had no choice but to follow the court order, family court order. As I mentioned, the child came back with cigarette burn marks on him. When she took him to the hospital and CPS got involved, she explained that to the social worker. But that social worker was so mean, and I understand because LA, they're mean. They're very mean, very very mean people. And she told her that she's gonna have to remove her son without an investigation done, without anything done. Um, that's how she lost all of her children. They made sure that she's homeless. She had a house. She couldn't afford to pay the mortgage anymore because of the classes they had to put her through. They separated her from her family by telling her family that they found methamphetamine in her son's system, which is not true. She supported this with evidence from the drug screening that her son was clean. She tried to submit this in court as evidence, and her court appointed attorney in Monterey Park courthouse in Los Angeles County would not do it. He told her it's too late, that the social workers have the upper hand and their decision is final. They removed her four children, forced her to do classes, lost her job, like I said, couldn't afford to pay mortgage, etc., etc., etc. Told her that she's going to get her kids back if she's completed with this. She completed everything. Then the judge told her, no, um, you, we don't believe you, basically. You need to do more classes. That's how bad it is. So sad. And she did. And now she's homeless. She lost everything. She lost her family. She lost her kids. She lost her job. She lost her house. And she's living in a car. The $1,400 that she paid that advocate that I read from her text message, that advocate, uh, pretty much she told me that she saved a lot of, well, she saved whatever she could from cash aid that she was collecting. She said it wasn't much. It was like 250 something dollars. So remember this, guys. CPS will drain you. That's why it's extremely important to lawyer up from day one. Extremely important. And I'm hoping that family members out there are aware of this. I'm hoping that they have the knowledge to understand that CPS's goal is to divide in order for them to conquer. And they spread lies against your children, who are the parents of your grandkids, because they want you to trust the social worker. They don't want you to trust your children, who are the parents. Because if you do trust them, then you're going to support them either financially, emotionally, or both. And that's what the social workers want to avoid. Okay, so keep that in mind. And like I said, please lawyer up. If you guys want Attorney Davis's book, I can text you guys copies. It's not going to be a hardcover, but I can text you guys copies. That's a very good book. Also, another book that I haven't done. I'm not done finished. Like, I'm on page 11. This is the Guilty Until Proven Innocent. This one. So I'm on page 11 right now. I haven't really gone through it all the way down, but this book is also very informative if you have like a criminal case. And let me see, it covers, okay, it says the players in the criminal justice system, the investigation, what to do if you are a suspect, suspected of driving under the influence, DUI, 10 ways to avoid DUI arrest and conviction, retained experts prove our client's innocence, common criminal charges, the judicial process, how a conviction can ruin your life, expunging conviction when you are charged or suspected of a crime. And the last one is invoking your rights. So again, I can also send you guys this via text as well. And I guess, like I told you guys before, this is the CPS book on how to fight child protective services and win by Davis. And this covers a lot of the court hearings. We're talking about juvenile dependency system. He talks about that, the social worker's initial investigation, the first court hearing, placement with relatives and family friends, the pre-release investigation, the judicial hearing, which is JDX, or I mean JDX and ROR, the contested jurisdictional hearing, what happens at a trial, the dispositional hearing, the 388 petition here and hearing, the 6 month review hearing, which is 364.21E JR, the 12-month review hearing, which is 0.21F, PPH, the selection and implementation hearing, which is 0.26, 388 petition, bonding study, notice of appeal, foster parents, and the secret. So please understand this book covers so much when you have a CPS case. Okay. And I can text it to you, not a problem. Again, these two books, Guilty Until Proven Innocent, and the other one is the Child Protective Services book. Those two, I'll be happy to text them to you. If you want to request any of them or both, you can text me at 626-631-8901, and I'll be happy to send them to you guys. That is my direct number. Thank you guys for joining us today. God bless you all. I'll see you guys on Monday.